pasa, mi gente? Les habla Barragán y estamos ya aquí. Quiero que me digáis todos si se me escucha bien y empezamos. Vale, me voy a poner... Bueno, me voy a poner todo. Y ahora empezamos, gente. ¿Se me escucha bien? ¿No se me escucha bien? Ahora os saludo a todos. Más o menos, ¿no? Más o menos. Vale, vamos a ver. Vamos a quitar la musiquita para empezar. Sí, dame un momento, a ver si puedo. ¿Se me escucha mejor? No se me escucha mejor. No entiendo. A ver, volumen al 30%. Un poquito más, por Dios. A ver, al 60%. Uf, ahora muy alto, ¿no, gente? A ver, al 55. Vale, vamos a ir por aquí. Vamos a ir por aquí. A ver. What the fuck, a ver. Dejarme que mire una cosita y colocamos esto por aquí. Crome, muy bien, ahí está. Hacemos así. Y lo ponemos encajadito bien, gente. Perfecto, perfecto. Esto fuera. La musiquita fuera. Esto fuera. Y ahora hacemos así. Vamos a ver dónde está. ¿Dónde está? Audio del escritorio. A ver. A ver, ¿funciona? ¿No funciona? ¿No funciona? Pero bueno, esto... Ah, vale, gente, vale. Bueno. Voy a tener que cerrar la ventana, gente. Voy a tener que cerrar la ventana. A ver, dejadme comprobar una cosita, gente. Ahora creo, ¿no, gente? Mucho mejor, ¿no?
This is a family place. Now, speaking of which, can you tell us a little bit about what it's been like working with Marvel Games and sort of how Firaxis and Marvel got together and what that relationship has been?
Working with Marvel is a dream, but...
¿Pero por qué se ve así? ¿Por qué se ve así? ¡No entiendo! La que estoy liando, por Dios.
The very first call I had with the Marvel Games team, one of their executive vice presidents...
Ahora está bien, coño. Ahora está bien, gente.
There were different experiences they wanted to share, and so that was really exciting.
Really exciting.
And so we thought if we can combine our gameplay experience with the narrative of all these...
Va a hacer un poquito más pequeño, gente. Un poquito.
will love.
A ver, así. No, un poquito más grande.
The first customizable original character in the form of Hunter. Can you tell us a little bit about who you're playing?
Un poquito más.
How they fit into the Marvel universe?
It was key for us to tell a new story. We wanted to go to a place that we think a lot of players haven't seen before in the Marvel universe. And a big part of that for us was not telling
lo máximo posible de calidad.
You're not Iron Man in this game, you're not Blade, you can control this.
Ahí está, ahí lo dejamos, gente. Ahora sí.
Did that by creating a Hunter, which is an all-new superhero redesigned with Marvel, which is completely customizable in terms of how they look and how they play, which lets the player feel like they're in this game, and lets them feel like they're experiencing this kind of firsthand. And so they are the child of this ultimate evil named Lilith, the mother of demons. They're an old character, but for a lot of players it's going to be new. And so we have this relationship between this ultimate evil and the Hunter, and new hero.
Was there a specific character in Midnight Suns who you can talk about right now?
Vale, gente, voy a poner la camarita. Estaba mirando que todo se viera bien.
In your own space.
The thing that we're excited about is there's two fantasies I think if you're a fan of Marvel. You love to fight alongside the heroes, and a lot of games have done that really well. But from the very beginning, we were more excited about this fantasy of, well, what's it like to live alongside the heroes? When you read the comics, when you watch the movies, I think that that's as exciting to see how they interact with each other, how you could interact with them, choosing who you want to build relationships with. We have this really large cast of characters, 12 heroes in addition to the Hunter. So the player has to make choices about, okay, which hero do I build a relationship with? And of course you get all kinds of gameplay benefits and cosmetic benefits. But it's really very narrative where you say, okay, I'm going to be best friends with these characters. And so for me, I really like Magic. I think that the way that we're doing some characters like Doctor Strange is very exciting, you know, and so it'll be up to different players, like what characters you love that you know, and then you get drawn into these new characters that we're introducing, like Robbie Reyes, the new Ghost Rider, Nico, Magic, that I think it's just fun. Every time you play, you know, you kind of find yourself drawn to different characters for different reasons.
Awesome. So whether you're a fan of the comics or the fan of the movies, this is a new, you know, untested territory entirely, and there's some surprises waiting in store. Now, you mentioned Runaways, you mentioned Inferno. Are there any other Marvel comics that fans should maybe read to get up to speed with Midnight Suns?
Well, there is the original run. I mean, it is.
Y aquí estoy. ¡Uépala! Me voy a poner por aquí abajo, gente.
You know, 1991.
¿Vale?
Max, you were a child for. I'm not
Espero que
even
se me
sure you
vea
were
bien.
born then.
Voy a
There's
intentar,
lots
voy a
of
encender
flowing
la
hair.
luz, creo,
You know, there were
incluso
lots
para
of
que se vea mejor.
motorcycles. So I would recommend, if you really want to learn about this, then read that original
Sí, yo creo que
Spirits
se
of
ve
Vengeance
un
run
poquito
of
mejor,
Ghost
¿no?
Rider and the Rise of the Midnight Suns.
Un poquito mejor. ¿Cómo estáis, gente? ¿Cómo estáis? Bienvenido Mexican Flow, Datri Jerónimo, Levi Ackerman. Voy a bajar un poquito de momento lo del escritorio, porque de momento tampoco nos interesa nada. De momento estamos en que tienen que empezar, gente, tienen que darle a Dying Light, y de momento están con lo de Marvel. A ver qué sucede, vamos a ver cómo pongo la cámara yo también. A ver, así, un poquito más. Así mismo, gente. Y mi Dying Light tocaba a las 8. Tocaba a las 8. Tocaba a las 8 Dying Light, Ahí está, Dying Light 2. Dying Light 2. Let's take a look. Let's go, gente, empieza.
My name is Timon Smetawa and I'm the lead game designer at Techno. Welcome to the Gamescom edition of Dying to Know. You can watch the previous episodes of the show on our YouTube channel. They reveal many details about the game and showcase unique gameplay videos. So if you still haven't seen them, you know what to do.
Está bien que lo traduzcan, pero estaría bien la traducción en español algún día. Estaría bien.
Today, let's talk about how to fight them. And not only them, but also the other big threats you will encounter in the world of Dying Light 2, which are us, humans. Unfortunately, humans tend to be the most cruel and brutal species out there, especially during an apocalypse.
Bueno, muy bien. Empecemos.
If you watched our previous episodes, you know that a large portion of the city's population has changed into monsters, roaming the streets. That's why it's extremely difficult to move around, unless you can run, climb, roll, swing and jump, as the best option to explore the world of Dying Light 2 is Parkour.
No estoy en Twitch, estoy solo en YouTube, gente. Hoy, a veces le daba ahí. ¿Se ve mal? ¿Se ve con lag? ¿Gente? ¿Se ve mal?
Well, we're really excited for the players to see what we've
¿Se ve mal,
prepared.
gente?
They will finally feel this amazing freedom of movement in a city built to support parkour from the ground up. Even the highest building is not an obstacle anymore, but a parkour tool to help
A
you
ver,
get
que lo
higher.
compruebo.
Even
Yo lo veo bien,
of Dying Light 1 will be pleasantly surprised, because we took all that we learned from parkour in DL1 and built everything from scratch. It's a more challenging way than to simply upgrade it, but it's more rewarding
Lo
as
veo
well.
bien.
Okay, but from my perspective, and I think your perspective as well, creating a realistic movement in an FPP game is very, very difficult. And we have spent a lot of time and resources to make it physical and exciting at the same time. So, how do you feel about it, Casper?
We really wanted to improve players' perception of their avatar's body and of what happens to it during parkour. The animators had their hands full, but it definitely makes it feel like a real HAZTE, which is a person who professionally does parkour. It's all thanks to dozens or even hundreds of new animations. It's especially visible with ropes, pipelines, monkey bars, etc. With the increased number of animations,
Esto del parkour
players can almost
va a estar muy interesante, a ver si lo han hecho bien, esta vez correr por las paredes bien. En Dying Light 1 solo estaba la opción como de saltar para atrás, y era un poco trambólico eso, ¿eh? Esa habilidad era un poco... A mí me jodía mucho esa habilidad, me jodía muchísimo.
You literally feel like flowing through the environment. They also find out that the city itself helps them with parkouring. And what might have seemed an obstacle,
Gente, ¿lo veis bien todo? Por favor, escribirme algo ahí.
Okay, but parkour can be more than just a way to traverse the city. In Dying Light 2, it's quite handy in combat too.
Yes. For example, I could stun my opponent with a powerful
El problema es que...
then use
Madre que lo parió.
to rebound from him and kick another one.
Van con un poco de retraso. Sí que tenéis razón, va con un poco de retraso. Va con un poco de retraso.
Well, that sounds amazing. So, Kacper, thank you for joining us, and thank you for explaining us how the game's parkour system works. And I believe you, the same as I, just can't wait for people to see it in action themselves.
Definitely.
So thank you once again. Take care.
Muy bien, muchas gracias. No me he enterado de nada. Ahora sí, van a hablar un poquito más del parkour y del combate. Matt Courtois, hostia, este no juega en el Madrid, pero bueno.
Thanks for joining us. I would like to start with something that was quite difficult for us, if you remember, at the very beginning of the project. How to present melee combat in first-person perspective.
Oh, I remember. Like you just said, creating satisfying melee combat from a first-person perspective, that's a real challenge. That's why we spent many weeks iterating it, improving it, until we got the right feeling. We feel we have created something special, and we're very excited to discover how players will react to it.
So, what do you think will excite them the most?
I guess, we've worked very hard for our combat to be visceral. So we created many exciting and immersive elements, such as what we call progressive hit reactions. So it's basically consecutive hits on enemies will enhance their reactions. They will react differently based on the weapon category you're using, based on the body parts you're targeting. So you can stun them, you can trip them over, you can cut off their limbs, which might sound pretty terrible.
But it's also cool, right?
And it's also very useful and glory. The direction of your swings also matters, and so does your position relative to theirs. We worked also with the professional stuntmen to record more spectacular heat reactions. That was mostly.
Esto ya lo enseñaron, que los movimientos lo grabaron ellos con cuerpos reales, así como están enseñando ahora. Eso está muy bien. Está muy bien eso.
In the world of Dying Light 2. It's post-apocalypse, so it's very brutal and very demanding. So to survive, you really need to step up your game. So, I don't know, maybe you have some tips for the players, maybe you think there's something they should focus on?
My best advice would be to be creative in combat. So, like you just mentioned with Casper, in Dying Light 2, parkour and combat are very connected. They're even intertwined, right? Allowing players to combine one with the other very easily, very smoothly. So technically, you can use the environment in combat, of course, as in kicking an enemy right after a wall run, or even you can use the enemy to get somewhere you like. So you would just vault over them, trigger a double jump to get higher, maybe somewhere you had trouble reaching before. But if you want, you can also just land back down, trigger a very powerful attack. It's completely up to you. Your options are almost endless. That's what we call creative combat. And to me, that would be the best weapon.
Okay, so that's an awesome hint. And thank you for that. And thank you for sharing all of the details. And thank you for joining us. We have used over 3,000 animations of jumps, grips, and other parkour moves to create a few dozen skills that can be mixed and combined, so every player can find her or his own way to survive in the city. In a minute, you will see that in our new gameplay trailer. But first, today on techlandgg.com, we have another gift for you. For those who are already exploring the Dying Light universe in the first game, we have a unique item, the Brilliant Hammer, a weapon from Dying Light 2.
Bueno, nos han dado una nueva arma para Dying Light 1. Eso es importante. El mazo brillante, por así decirlo. Así que, ya sabéis, podéis ir a techlandgg y canjearlo. Y ya podremos conseguir, creo, el nuevo atuendo de Aiden exclusivo. O vamos a poder empezar a hacer puntos para ello. ¡Ojo! ¡Trailer!
Probably like many others. People had their ambitions, plans, lives. Now it's all gone. The virus started it, but it was the people who made the world the way it is. This city, Villador. They tell me they had a vision. They had hope. But soon, one vision broke into many different ones.
¡Ojo! El demoledor está increíble, gente. El demoledor está increíble. Es increíble el demoledor. Han cambiado un poquito a ese personaje, ¿eh?
Now the city is falling.
Each time we strike down an enemy, we absorb their strength.
I can't let that happen. At least, not yet. I need the secrets the city holds. Oh, fuck! Hey!
Estaba bien el audio ahora, gente. Estaba bien ahora el audio,
I have to make a difference.
Let's check and see. Es que lo he arreglado ya, por fin. Todo esto ya lo enseñaron en el tráiler anterior, Todo esto ya lo enseñaron.
They say that great change is a series of small gestures. How about this series? We'll see about that.
The trailer presented quite a few new
Está bastante bien, está bastante bien. El
soon
problema
get to
es
use
que
in
todo
Dying
esto
Light
lo
2.
enseñaron
So
en el
now,
vídeo del
let's talk with the people that are actually making them. Marek Musiał, lead 3D weapon artist, and Szymon Strauss, the producer of the weapons team. Hello. The first question maybe to Marek is, Marek, can you explain how we as a team have approached the process of creating weapons of Dying Light 2?
Yes, we wanted the weapons to be credible. It's been a long time since the apocalypse, and everything of value has already been looted. There aren't any stores to buy a new weapon, so you need to build your equipment from what you find. That's why we had to design dozens of
Bueno, que ahora se me está doblando esto, yo no entiendo nada.
And actually that was our design pillar, the modern Dark
No sé por qué se me
Ages.
está doblando
Absolutely.
esto.
Modern Dark Ages is this concept of fallen civilization. Our weapons, we try to create them in a most deadly and violent way.
And working with that concept, where did you get the inspirations from?
Well, citizens of Vilidor, they could only use stuff they found in the world. So we thought we should do exactly the same. We scavenge. So mostly we've been looking for our inspiration in stores selling agricultural, construction, military tools.
But also places
Qué locura, gente, no sé por qué se me escucha doblado. Es una mierda. No sé por qué se me escucha doblado, tío.
And even though some of them may look very simple, we've got also quite the opposite, like, I don't know, semi-automatic crossbow.
I will love this one.
And our weapons are very diverse visually. Each one has a unique design and history. Just by looking at the weapon, you can tell where the maker found the parts. At a military base, a museum, a repair garage.
Exactly.
Ahora, por Dios. No me lo puedo creer.
Pick the weapon, you instantly realize if it was cobbled together in a street or maybe
No me lo puedo creer, gente.
made by factions where they have access to welding and steel cutting equipment.
Yeah, and don't forget about the mods, because in Dying Light 2's Stay Human world, if you want to beat your opponent with highly effective weapon, first of all you need to find a basic version of that weapon and then slowly build it up. That's what we call modding. We've got many types of mods, like defensive ones, let's say improving quality of your handle, or offensive ones, like improving the tip or the blade itself. So I don't think that right
Están
now
enseñando el cambio de un arma a un arma modeada
in December,
con
you
modificaciones.
also need to add an effect to your favorite weapons such as fire, freeze,
Fuego,
electricity.
electricidad,
Let's
hielo.
leave something for the players to discover. So let's end here. And guys, thank you for joining me.
Me sirve, me sirve, me sirve.
Before I talk with my last guest, I would like to invite you to participate in our UGC contest. Especially you, Gamescom viewers, we are waiting for your submissions. And if you are thinking about competing in the cosplay category, you will want to hear this one. Let me present to you the grand jury that will be choosing the best cosplays of the Dying Light 2 characters. Welcome, Irina Meyer, Lightning Cosplay, Narga and Aoki, and Enginite. And of course, fingers crossed for you, our community. Let the best cosplay win. Check our website for more details.
Ya van a salir los campeones del sorteo aquel que montaron, bueno, del torneo que montaron.
Movement. Michał Dudziak, game designer, hello. And Adam Michałowski, senior.
¿Qué pasa, Reaper? Bienvenido. ¿El cazador nocturno regresará? Pues no lo sabemos aún, no han dicho nada sobre eso. A lo mejor vuelve como DLC.
And basically, that's what is happening in Dying Light 2 Stay Human.
Exactly. Based on the player choices, the world is literally changing and helping you to achieve your goals in combat or exploration. For example, the gameplay will be totally different depending on which factions you support, the survivors or the peacekeepers.
Okay, but can you give us more detail?
The differences between the factions define how each group can help us. For example, the survivors keep to the roofs and trying to avoid the danger on the ground. For building, they use mostly light materials like wood or scraps, and they can provide you a various amount of parts.
Grande Javier Corona, llevamos unos cuantos años dándole a Dying Light y le seguiremos dando actualizados siempre que podamos, siempre que podamos. Desde hace años ya. Grande Javier. Ojo, vale, la trampa de electricidad, bien. Coches bomba, vale. Bien, me sirve.
We don't need to remain loyal to just one faction. The city is divided into several zones, and it's in each of them the players.
Sí, dieron bastantes detalles, pero en el anterior evento, Javier, tienes un montón de vídeos en mi canal, búscate los infectados, bueno, los monstruos.
Humans are active during the day and monsters come out during the night, but let's reveal more.
Se llaman monstruos.
Other differences.
Well, monsters attack mostly in groups, and they instinctively take advantage of the numbers. So, to defend yourself, you have to keep your head on a swivel. Monsters don't use special tactics, but it doesn't mean they're easy. They push forward, so you have to be clever to avoid getting cornered. And to win, you have to stay active, move a lot, and learn to...
Para nosotros ganar un combate contra ellos, vamos a tener que ser activos y estar atentos.
They use increasingly more complex behaviors. As the game progresses, defeating human enemies and monsters
suelen atacar en grupo, es lo que ha dicho.
But unlike monsters, people cooperate. So while fighting
el demoledor, con sus rocas.
We observe not only individuals, but also the whole group. And of course, there are many more unique subtleties to both humans and monsters, but I think we should let the players discover them on their own.
Well, okay, that's a good idea, but all of that sounds very juicy. So let's end here. Guys, thank you for joining me.
Muy bien.
That's almost all for today. You learned a lot about parkour and combat in Dying Light 2. We showed you that parkour is not just a tool for exploration, but also an important element of combat.
Está diciendo que hemos visto que el parkour no es solo para moverse por la ciudad, sino para combatir también.
Before we end this episode, we have one more special announcement for you. Dying Light 1 is coming to Nintendo Switch. So yes, it's official now. So,
Dying Light va a ser para Nintendo Switch. ¡Ojo, gente! ¡Anuncio!
In June alone, the game was played by close to 2 million gamers. Big thanks to our community. You're awesome. Dying Light 1 for Nintendo Switch will be released in Platinum Edition.
Ojo, gente. Nice. Nice que hagan esto. Nice que hagan esto. Muy bien, muy bien. A buenas horas lo hacen, pero bueno. Pero bueno.
If you are hungry for more and you want to support us, why don't you pre-order the game to explore it on your own in just a few months? That's all for today. Thank you, Gamescom, and see you in the next episodes of Dying to Know.
¡Ya está! ¡Ya está! O sea, nos está diciendo que habrá otro Dying to Know y que por hoy ya está, ¿en serio? ¿En serio? ¿En serio? No me lo puedo creer. No me lo puedo creer. No me lo puedo creer. Señor. ¡Señor! Ya estaría, gente, ¿eh? Ya estaría por hoy. No entiendo nothing. No entiendo nothing. No entiendo nothing. Muy cortito, cada vez más cortitos, gente. Cada vez más cortitos, gente. Vamos a hacer así. Pim, pap. A ver, un momentito. Pum. Hago así. Me pongo por aquí, gente. Hostia, Que lo deformo demasiado, lo he deformado demasiado. Bueno. Vale, pues, gente, me voy a despedir. Gente, me voy a despedir rápido para empezar a hacer todos los vídeos ya, que tengo un montón de cosas que hacer con esto del Dying Light. Así que, bueno, hoy hemos sido menos, no pasa nada. Espero veros pronto, empezaré a hacer más vídeos con la cámara, que me lo estáis pidiendo mucho. Y nada, no me enrollo más. Un saludo, darle a like, comentar, suscribiros y nos vemos en el próximo. ¡Adiós, gente! Goodbye.